Hello. We will do a quick introduction because we had some changes. So you can rebrand yourself now. So let's see. You're the new Francesca, right?
No,
So you're Francesca.
I'm the new Francesca.
This is going sideways from the start.
Okay.
As much as I wish I was Frankie some days, I'm Carlough. I'm from #Peg. I'm our strategy lead. I come from years and years of creative agency background. I've joined the company really looking to push innovation in the creator space. Obviously, it's a big space. Every panel conversation so far has mentioned creators, and our mission is to connect brands with creators in the most seamless way possible.
Great. And you're just rebranding your name from Joe to Jess, the person formerly known as.
Yeah, I don't know where Joe. Never been a Joe. I've been called a lot of things in my life. Joe has not been one of them. And it is a bit. I'm looking at my picture. I'm much grayer than that now. Bit false advertising. So maybe it is good for a little makeover.
It's the Jon Stewart.
I am Jess Santoro. I am with the company called Cadent. In short, we are an omni-channel marketing platform, and that's kind of a catch-all. But we connect audiences to media. So I think my perspective today, in talking about experiential, or the experience, is how are we best connecting audiences to all of the amazing content that is out there anymore.
And Stephanie, you're still Stephanie, but you glam us up by having a doctor in the title. So tell us about you.
We're not saving the world with that doctorate. My thesis was on the advertising effects of CTV and digital out of home. So if you have any questions, would love to chat, but thanks. And I'm the global CSO at Billups. We're an independent out of home media agency.
Awesome. So media it continues to just blow up, right? Lines are blurring, the shape is changing, physical, virtual worlds are just mashing up left and right. And then you compound that with technology, AI, everything else. So I always like to hear from people, what do you think an example of not just media, really seizing it today, but I'm going to say creative too. And I look at Hall because you're going to talk about creative today. But who's doing it well right now? Who's not just keeping up, but who's like conquering it in your worlds? It could be a client. It could be just a brand you love. Let's start with Stephanie.
Well, I used to live in New York, but I live in Toronto now, so I'm Canadian. And do we have any Schitt's Creek fans in the room? Okay. So Eugene and Dan Levy are the celebrity spokespeople for a bank in Canada, and that bank has really nailed how to use the celebrities in their creative in a way that's authentic to the celebrity brands and also the brand's brand. And I've been seeing the ads on CTV, YouTube ads, as well as out of home in my area. The combination, the media mix, it's worked well. And that's a humble brag because we did the media buying for the out of home.
Jess?
I think I look at who's doing it well or good. There's two flavors of it. I think there's things like, just even earlier today when Amanda was on stage, the Dove stuff is really, really good. Not just because I'm a girl dad, but I think that how do you not get pulled into I think that's a Jay-Z song, right? And then the visuals, and it's like, that's just good advertising to me. It's good use of content. And on the flip of that, I think good to me is anecdotally, it's getting into golf season. I enjoy playing golf, and in scrolling through my Instagram feed, I'm now getting hit. I just recently literally bought golf balls off of Instagram, and that was a good ad for me because it was extremely, extremely relevant to where I was in that moment of time. So I think there's really great creative out there that really gets a lot of us. And then I think there's really good, relevant, targeted advertising that just makes sense.
I love that. Paul?
Yeah. I think rather than a single brand, I think the generative art movement is really driving really interesting media right now. I think Netflix did it really well. Speaking of glitter and crack with their Griselda AR ad, really bus driving down the road, snorting up the traffic lines. It was dynamic. It was bold. It was brash. It traveled like crazy. It was in every channel the day it launched. I thought that was really well done. I think Maybelline did it really well with their mascara work with the London Tube. I think that is a space that we're going to continue to see just driving and pushing creator innovation, and those two both knocked it out of the park for me.
I love that those are both out of home examples. Thank you. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Nice. So let's go to out of home, Stephanie. you hear differing, almost like polarizing views, right? Some people think it's distracting, it's old school. And then you heard Ashley, right, an American Eagle, talk about like, wow, that's just not thumb stopping, it's just people stopping, right, with the new use. What's your view, and how is the out-of-home industry innovating?
It's something that, that's why we're here today, to have these conversations, because I do think that in some ways, marketers can take out of home a bit for granted. It's been around forever, and we just assume that it's like, I will give a conversation about, it's not your mother's billboard. So at Billups, we really like to work with creatives to find out those wow moments, making sure that we're placing your brand where it should be in different parts of an actual physical space. But then we also want to be able to measure it. So we can measure full funnel, whether it is those upper level KPIs, or without any devices or cookies, we can look at website conversion, app download. So it's really modifying how people think of the channel. Sustainability is another one. It's been coming up in conversation already today. Out of home, people perceive that it's going to be one of the least sustainable media that they could potentially include in a mix. It's one of the most sustainable, and it's through measures from publishers, as well as the fact that there's just the bid stream is quite low. So, yeah.
And I was talking with someone at the break just about RFID technology, and I've seen some really amazing out-of-home uses where it knows, that you've been on a flight, it knows this. So how are you using technology like that?
Well, exactly as you mentioned, but we can, especially when it's digital, depending on the feeds and what your goals are, we can look at making anything really dynamic. From weather is a classic example. It was raining this morning. We would know if it was on a Link NYC totem, for example, we would know. And if it was, say, American Eagle, there could be an umbrella ad. And now that it's sunny, we can take the feed and for sunglasses or something like this, right?
Interesting. So Jess, similar question. When I think about TV, which has got a million formats now, right? And that whole bucket of media, and then just decreasing eyeballs, attention spans, customers and consumers being their own creators, right? So you hear a lot about the shift away from TV and to digital, but you've been really kind of reimagining that. Like, what's going on in your space, and what are you seeing?
Yeah, I think that TV, historically is looked at as contextual. And I think there are still some environments, sports, such as one that still drives contextual investment. But really, it's about audiences. I'll plug. Is Ashley still here from American Eagle? I'm going to plug her too, because I thought one of the things she said on her panel about really the customer journey that feeds into how we and many marketers look at it, right? Like TV still has a very important part of the media mix because it still gives immediate reach. But it's just about better using audiences to attach them to what the different formats could be or what different endpoints could be. So the trend line we see is no different than I think everybody sees, not only in our day jobs, but in our personal lives, which is we're consuming a lot of different media and a lot of different touch points, a lot of different times. TV in the morning, phone on the bus or the train, or audio and as we're driving, maybe maybe some TV or some podcasting during the day, back to my commute and back to my couch. And so I think the big continued shift we see is that wherever that particular audience is, how do I engage with them the right way at the right time? Maybe on those TV screens, I can employ a more mass reach message. And then maybe in some of those more interpersonal touch points, I've got to be more targeted and relevant with my creative or the format that I'm trying to address them with. So listen, it's just, it is an omnichannel world. We are living omnichannel lives. And I think that's the big challenge that marketers have, that everybody's trying to figure out, is that how do I stay relevant throughout that entire journey, whether it be the sales cycle journey or just the journey of my day.
And I'm curious, just personally, I mean, being in life sciences, healthcare, and pharma, it's a very TV spot led industry. You create your spot first and then you adapt it, right? But for years, for decades, really, the more best practice, I mean, I'll just call out my own industry, is to start in social, start in digital, and really nail the messaging and get as personal as possible and really get that down before TV. And I don't see my industry always doing that. Are you seeing most or a good percentage of your customers creating something and testing it and getting it right before they come onto TV? And
I would say most. No, I think that there's, as much as I think as an industry, we talk about consolidation and breaking down silos. I don't think we're even remotely close to probably where we need to be with communication planning and how that ties to creative, but I think that a lot of times things are deployed out there. At least we have return path data across a lot of the mediums that we could actually start adjusting to. I quite frankly don't see a lot of, I would say the DTC category, yes. Get it out there, test it, drive results, then realize I have to scale it. But big brands, whether it be pharma, whether it be auto, even whether it be entertainment, I don't know if I really see that. I'm sure it's happening. It's not like it's not happening at all. But in general, I think it's still get it all out there and then kind of react to how things come back in.
Interesting. And creative, Hall. So when I looked at this conference at first, I thought, I don't believe in just media. I just believe it's half the story. And I kind of bristled at just media, right? You come from a creative background. You've worked at agencies, right? And then now you're at a place where you are helping people with their storytelling. Talk to everybody about the power of storytelling and that creator marketing, that creator economy.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Oh, God. Yeah, absolutely. My background is creative agencies. I've worked on IATs globally with media agencies on the creative side. I joined #Paid because it is a tech-driven platform, like I said, dedicated to that creator network. And I've worked a lot with emerging technologies. I've worked a lot with Web3, and I love the comment, who's not talking about NFTs anymore. Like that movement, the NFT movement, is where the generative art work started. So innovation is a part of this matrix that creators are starting to really fill in for us. And my team is learning about AI from creators. So again, it's an educational point, and I think that storytelling starts to, and as we're seeing it, connect and infiltrate more and more into the full flywheel of a content matrix. It's becoming less about buying posts. The creator you're working with is somebody that you're borrowing creative equity from. They have an audience that is entirely trusted. Well, hopefully entirely trusted. We have over 100,000 creators on the platform. We triple vet them. We know that they are highly engaged, that their audience is, they're experts in the space. If that's in generative art, then that's a place we know that they can be in, they can really bring in and lead it in. So I would say the storytelling is part of it. And then the understanding that, when you're working with creators, you're not working just with social anymore. They are substacking, they're writing, they're podcasting, they're creating these interactive platforms across the board that's driving huge engagement with audiences. So again, it's that whole creative equity. So you're really, I love the thinking of inserting yourself into that cultural moment rather than, being alongside it. I agreed with that in an earlier panel.
And for all of you, just on the agency theme, how has your interaction with agencies changed, whether it's because of AI and technology or because of clients often just working directly with companies like yours and influencers and creators? How has that changed? We'll start with you.
Yeah, sure. We work 50-50, I would say, brand direct and with agencies. So I think it's really important that the nature of and lexicon comes into it so much, but vendor versus partner is really changing. We would traditionally be seen as a vendor, but agencies more and more are working with us in a deep partnership level. We're working with them on the initial strategy from the ground up. We're not just slapping creators into the mix. We know ahead of time this is a part of an activation. This is a part of experiential. We're not the creator isn't the icing on top. It's truly the full, or even just promoting for attendance. It's the full story is being told through the lens of this creator partnership. And I would say looking at that diversification across, again, I love the Twitch, coffee, and gamers. That's a fantastic way of looking at the innovation across the audience matrix so that, gamers, golfers, snackers, coffee all of a sudden becomes an omnicultural conversation because these audiences are blending and mixing. And yeah.
Jess, how about you?
I can touch on that. We're heavily engaged with the agencies and the holding companies. I think to sum it up, there's two things I think that have big changes. One is do more, and the second is move faster. I think on the do more side, the agencies are being challenged very heavily by their brands. I think that they're being asked to do a lot, and it's very difficult to manage a big partner list. We hear that constantly, that partner lists they're trying to find less partners to do more and drive more impact for them. And so that's one big challenge we continue to get from our agency partners, and that's a big adaptation I think we've made with them, is to expand over, it doesn't happen overnight, but if I just look past over the last half decade, we have expanded our solution set for our clients and our pretty dramatically to help meet them where they are. And on the move faster side, you mentioned things like AI. It's just that everything happens closer to launch anymore. I think that there's not a lot of really far out planning, or if it happens, it tends to evolve. I think back to just the fact that we get a lot of very quick data signals back in about are things working or not things working. The ability is there to adapt quicker than maybe it had been in a set it and forget it fashion, which is probably how things was more so that way in the past. So we use things like AI just to try to make faster decisions, right? Like how can we quickly qualify an audience against an impression on a format? And so we're seeing a lot of benefits for the things that we're developing just to be able to move faster for our customers.
Let's stay on AI. Stephanie, your industry is really reinventing itself. So love it, hate it, both. AI, how is it complicating things? How is it making your life easier, more targeted?
Okay, so a couple things building up to that. One is similar to your business, we're about 50-50. So 50% agency, 50% brand direct. And to give some weight to the Billups name, Billups is the last name of our founder. Our clients are like Nike and Molson Coors and Expedia. So going back to the conversation about in-housing earlier, we do have clients direct who have been saying like, out of home, we don't want to deal with it. So here you go and make us proud. And so where AI comes into that is we definitely want to match what brands in-house and what agencies are bringing to the table in other channels. So we've developed a few proprietary offerings, patented even. One is to understand user journeys that we can glean attention. Attention has become huge in other channels. We can measure it in out-of-home too. And the other, even internally, is we have a recommendation engine based off of AI. So we have 20 years worth of plans that our team has put together. So why not ingest that into our own platform to make sure that we're doing things to respond to quick requests? Because in out of home, we have to print, right? There's production in traditional inventory. So the faster that we can get out plans, get them approved, the quicker the turnaround time.
And Hall, thank you, Stephanie. And Hall, if I think about AI and creative, it's like, to use a pharma term, there's a fair balance, right? It's very efficacious for certain things, getting rid of some of the bottleneck, production, finding things, adapting and all that. But then there's some side effects and adverse events, right? And backlash. Sometimes people are suspicious. Is this a real person? Is it not? So how are you addressing that? And how are your clients?
Yeah, I think the ethics of AI are something we're uncovering daily. So I think in the adverse effects, I think we look at a lot of platforms already integrating their own, on the social side, already integrating their own watermarking AI solutions to identify AI content. I think a lot of AI content on the creative side wants to be known as AI content. So there's an intention there. AI content in general performs dramatically better often than because it's opening up new worlds. It's starting to look at things. The luxury space really embraced that early on with their product work, with Jacquemus being kind of one of the first ones to blow up his bags and drive them around Paris. I think the danger is it starts to look a little bit all the same. So the opportunity to lean into people who are innovating, because again, it's core to who they are as a creator, and innovation is just how they begin to express themselves, is how brands can continue to stay relevant with it. So we're not just all making the same AI content, but we also, on efficacy, we're doing similar things. We're using AI to measure sentiment so that we can move quickly to turn on rights for content and put them into channels like CTV and out of home. We've built that proprietary tool as well. So similar in terms of operational, but then on the creative side, I think it's very much an ongoing and evolution of the conversation, but definitely something we continue to think about as we work with the different creators.
Interesting. So there's a lot of opportunity, but I'm just curious for all of you, like, what's in your worry box right now? Well, that you can share.
I'm glad I'm next to a doctor. You know what? I think that's a really good question. We didn't prep for that one, so I'm going to go off the cuff here. I just think that the amount of, we call competitive confusion. I think my biggest worry box is there are a lot of solutions that clients are trying to dig through, and I get worried a little bit about paralysis by analysis. And so, self-plugging a little bit, like, we're just trying to simplify execution. And I think that's what I see as complexity out there. And so I think that stalls innovation, and sometimes I think it stalls getting to market. I think, outside of the macroeconomic trends that all sit here and we wonder about, and the macro political trends that we all sit here and wonder about, what's the impact going to be on all of our businesses. I think just in general, it's that, are we doing this the right way? Are we doing it within privacy compliant ways? We're sitting here talking about personalization, and that's, and the fact that consumers have such choice and control anymore. How do we, as marketers, how are we best working within the confines of expectation, of regulation, to make sure we're still doing our job, which is getting people to see our messaging and drive activity. So what worries me the most is just how complex it really has gotten. And as an industry, are we able to actually sift through all that complexity and still do our jobs, which is, in most cases, build brands and sell products?
Stephanie?
Well, I mean, I guess going with your flow over there, sometimes don't we do that to ourselves? There was I used to run out of home at Yahoo internationally, and the biggest challenge to marketers bringing the channel into their media mix was this is a performance-based campaign. And so there was some education that had to be involved there, because as has been discussed, brand and performance go hand in hand. And upper funnel KPIs, there's studies, there's a direct positive correlation with lower funnel, right? So you can't do one or the other. But now that we're swinging towards brand again, I had someone bring up the term brandformance to me recently. And I was like, is that just not marketing? So when you talk about how that concerns you, I think that's on us. Like, that's a takeaway from us today to say, okay, maybe I won't make up a new acronym or term for marketing. Let's just focus.
Yeah. All right. And I won't be we're going to go to questions in a minute. I don't want to be just negative. What's your advice to people in this audience hall?
I'm going to play off the worry box and say, be very choiceful in what you are paying attention to when it comes to innovation moving forward, and what you're willing to let go of. We are at an inflection point of innovation where we will not be having the same conversations in a year's time. The internet will be dramatically different. AI is really like get on or get off at this point. And the real secret is you don't have a choice. You are going to be carried along the AI river. And my kind of anecdotal proof for that is, like I was saying, NFTs, Web3, all of these things that we were scoffing at a year ago are now going into market without knowing it. Like, your zero knowledge conversion technology is happening at the payment level, lower funnel. It's blockchain. You don't know it. They don't say it. NFTs, you might not be knowing you're getting an NFT, but you're downloading a digital collectible when you go to the baseball game. These things, these products continue to integrate into our lives, and that is innovation just pulling us along with it. So I would say be choiceful on figuring out which kind of trains you want to get on and invest in them and move fast.
Yeah. All right. Any quick words of advice or wisdom before we go to Q&A?
Be curious.
I like that.
That is I say it all the time. I think it is. It's be curious. I whenever we're looking to hire somebody or we talk to our staff, we always ask just the discovery is such an important thing anymore. And we just love curiosity. It drives so much of our innovation as a company. It drives great innovation for our customers. So just be curious. I like it.
Yeah, I meant be curious too.
I love that. And we're curious if anyone has any questions.
Oh, come on. Someone does. There we go.
Hi, how you doing? Name is Matt. Jess, you had mentioned two things I thought were very interesting. One was about how you've expanded your product offerings to help meet more of the needs, and we've heard people talk about simplifying and their agency rosters, et cetera, and yet what keeps you up at night is the number of people doing lots of different things. How do you think about it, certainly from your individual perspectives, being able to figure out what you're really good at and what you're offering, or being able to build multiple service offerings that are equally competent to the thing that got you to where you are?
I'll take it out. So I think it's a great question. Just philosophically, the way we go about it, we're 20 years old as a company, and our roots are linear television. And so we think we're very good at, and we've proven value over 2 decades to our clients, are making sure that we're maximizing the value of that medium for them. And so for us, we look at it as share wallet growth. So our strategy is no major head scratcher. We've been driving value here with this television format, and our next step was how do we increase addressability to that format for you? Take that kind of upper funnel approach, and then how do we maybe give you some solutions that are in that middle funnel through better indexing of television behavior. And then it was the expansion into connected TV over the last 5 or 6 years, as that has really shown its scale. And it's that, okay, now we're still good at TV, and we've driven more precision at scale. And now we're saying, okay, let's address that household through some identifier. And so for us, it's been, there's point solutions for all of those. And to my earlier point, we just are being challenged by our customers saying, we can't have this many partners. And so it's almost a survival move to say, no problem, we can do these. I think we're pretty honest with ourselves and our partners, though, because things come out pretty quickly anymore. Everything's so accountable that you can't really fake it until you make it maybe the way you could have in the past. So to us, it's just sticking true to our roots and giving legitimate expansions off of what we've been good at for years.
Tim, are we at time?
If there's any builds on that, we could, if anyone else has other comments or a really quick question. Otherwise, any more comments? Great. Well, quick round of applause for our panel. Thank you so much.